Velvet had a good idea, and I wouldn't mind selling something.
What would you sell, Hunky?
I admitted that I wasn't sure, and Miss Harbinger grew very excited. She said that sometimes the people who don't know what to do with their lives end up having the most interesting adventures of all. She told me to invest in a skateboard, the vehicle of choice for lost souls, and to be sure to document my current indecision in my diary. Miss Harbinger encourages us to keep personal diaries for 3 reasons. 1, in the event that we become famous, we can sell them. 2, in the event that we become infamous, we can sell them for double. 3, if we are good and bad, our diaries may someday even be admissible as evidence of our misdeeds in court, and as entertainment for future generations. But Miss Harbinger did not tell us what we are supposed to write that would interest a court, or future generations, or any other audience. So I'm going to summarize what we read in class today. We were on Chapter 3 of Venefica Mandrake's guide, Be the One with the Wand. The main idea of the chapter was eradication, or the getting rid of individuals who might cross us. The approaches ranged from the simple retort, "Excuse me, you must have mistaken me for someone who cares," to the transmogrification of subjects into houseflies that can easily be swatted with one hand. Curses are addressed in a later chapter, Miss Harbinger says. I can't wait. White Chocolate Moon, New. What a dull day. The sun was shining, so I stayed inside all morning reading cookbooks. There are some delicious booger cookies I would like to try, but Mama said to stick with the brews. If I keep making desserts, we'll be too heavy for our brooms to carry us. Do you think warlocks worry about such things? Then we went to the supermarket, where Mama ran into some which I didn't recognize, but who sure remembered me. She went on and on about,
"Why, look at you, dearie. Batty me! Don't you know I remember when the vulture first brought you? And now you're as big as a tumor!"
As if it's news that I have grown in the 100 years since I was a baby. Mama took the lead and went on about how I'm first in charm school, and how
she'll be the wickedest witch wherever the 4 winds blow.
Doesn't Mama know it's bad luck to brag? Well, they just went on and on and on, and there was the poison mushroom pizza just defrosting in the cart, and nobody seemed to care. Then Mama dragged me around, in the sun, I might add, to all the cellar sales in the haunted houses so we could hunt for dolls for Mama's collection. Mama didn't have much luck at all. The good news is, I found a used skateboard. Maybe Twisted will paint one of her bats on it for me. Of course, Mama had to literally talk the head off the poor ghost, who asked,
"Is that your daughter?"
She read that as a green light to go through her whole rigmarole again about my being the wickedest witch wherever the 4 winds blow. Which, by the way, is Mama's fondest forecast. She whispers it in my ear each night as she tucks me in. Indeed, why wouldn't she believe it will someday come to pass? I'm at the top of my class in charm school. I can make flowers droop like wet spaghetti. I can make thunder rumble like a whale's bellyache. I have cultivated a wart and a knobby finger, a taste for eye of newt, and a cantankerous cackle that rattles the bones of any vertebrate for miles around. And as a true testament to my talent, I can turn any prince into a frog. Yes, a frog, green and boggy and bumpy, with fly breath and slimy lips. But I always change 'em back. Mama says it's just natural rebellion. I don't know if it is or it isn't, but for historical record and future generations, I do think such actions disqualify me for title of wickedest. If it's so great to be wickedest witch wherever the 4 winds blow, why don't you be it? I asked her when we were walking back to the cave.
"Hush your yap," she snapped. "I'm old. I don't have to do anything."
Well, don't you want to do something?
I do something. I raise a spoiled brat who doesn't know the meaning of hush your yap.
Well, that's quite the career choice, isn't it? But Mama was only kidding. That isn't her real job. Mama was in the kitchen most of the afternoon, brewing something murky for the late shift to grab on their way home from work. She called me in to help, and I was crushing some herbs in the mortar when she saw me and came running over, yelling, "No, like this!" And she grabbed the pestle to show me. Of course, I had no idea what she was talking about. It looked exactly the same to me both ways, and I don't care how she howls about it. I still don't believe there's any difference. I think she just gets a kick out of telling me I'm doing it wrong. I try to be a helpful and faithful daughter, but I hope being the wickedest witch doesn't include stirring away my afternoons. White Chocolate Moon, Waxing Crescent. Miss Harbinger says I must stop writing in such a way that placates the teacher. Miss Harbinger says that means I must stop kissing up. Miss Harbinger says it is not necessary for a girl as talented as I to continually try to impress people with words like transmogrification. Miss Harbinger says a real witch does not care so much what other people think. Miss Harbinger says that developing a personal voice in one's work is all one really can aspire to. Miss Harbinger says if I start one more sentence with Miss Harbinger says, she will turn me into a dirty toothbrush. Miss Harbinger wouldn't know half of what I do or say if frantic search were not such a huge tattletale. She would nark on me as soon as look at me. For example, today was our spelling test, so Miss Harbinger sent word to a nearby kingdom that we were a group of princesses being held hostage by a ferocious dragon. It wasn't long before we could hear the thundering of hooves and snapping of branches as our rescuers approached. We hollered, "Help!" in our best falsettos, whereupon a prince, with such pronounced muscles that they dented his armor, flung himself against the door. Miss Harbinger opened it before his shoulder hit, so that he fell to the floor in such a clank-tankerous fashion that it sounded like it was raining soup cans. His faithful men followed him, unsheathing their shining swords, but we wielded our wands at equal speed and turned their weapons into cattails. They looked very surprised.
"Where is the dragon?"
the prince demanded.
"Disappointed, are you?"
Miss Harbinger clucked her tongue.
"Now, please behave. You are about to be educational."
"But you said that there would be princesses,"
one of the knights began to whine. "But you said that there would be princesses," we chorused. From Chapter 3, Be the One with the Wand. Mimicry is basic to witches and all other brands of bullies.
"Aw,"
Miss Harbinger stuck out her lower lip.
"They want princesses, girls."
So we waved our wands, and in a rain of glitter, all of the knights were outfitted in lovely gowns. Miss Harbinger took out her grade book.
"Belladonna? A little heavy on the rouge, don't you think? Keep it natural. I think a peach to orange would have suited him more, don't you agree? And Twisted Ankle. I said princess, not queen. Ease up on the golden tresses and double-check your work."
Twisted Ankle crossed her arms and grumbled something about having her creativity stifled. The prince was unscathed, but not for long.
"Now, today's spelling test is on class pets. The best spelling will decide what pet we will keep. Velvet Underground, spell cat."
Velvet promptly turned the prince into a very pretty Siamese, his crown slipping around his neck like a sparkling collar.
"One blue eye, one green. Lovely. That's the velvet touch," Miss Harbinger encouraged her.
"Fit!" Frantic blew a small raspberry.
"Anyone can spell cat."
Velvet overheard and her face fell. I know Miss Harbinger gave her an easy one because spelling is not her strong suit. I think Frantic is beyond witchy to point it out.
"Belladonna, spell mouse."
Bella turned the prince from cat to rat. Miss Harbinger waited patiently while Bella shook her head and gave it another go, this time changing him into a sweet little white mouse with purple ears.
"Very good,"
said Miss Harbinger. "Very good," sneered Frantic under her breath. "She couldn't even turn a man into a mouse." "Yes, she did," I pinched her. She pinched back, hard. "It took her 2 tries." Frantic tossed her black hair over one shoulder. "That's sad."
"Frantic,"
Miss Harbinger called on her.
"Spell frog."
Within a moment, there was a textbook-perfect frog, wearing the unhappy grimace that only frogs, and princes that have been turned into frogs, can wear. "There are 5 warts, Miss Harbinger," Frantic gushed.